So, while we were busy reviewing Foundation and Star Trek, another show appeared on our radar, one taking place in the Alien franchise.
Great iridescent egg! Is this going to be another nostalgia memberberry fest like Alien Romulus was?
Only one way to find out.
Hit it!
New shirt?
I thought it's fitting considering the subject matter.
Now, Romulus looked good. They got the tech right, and it felt like a continuation of the Alien franchise, set sometime between the first two movies.
Oh, absolutely. The look and feel was spot on. But to me, it felt like another Force Awakens, a movie designed merely to play the franchise's greatest hits. There was nothing new in any of it. Some of the best moments from Alien, Aliens, Alien Resurrection, and even Prometheus were recreated. But where was the originality? Where was anything that would expand and deepen the world? There was nothing there aside from a massive disappointment, which looked good. Nostalgia bait.
Which is why I wasn't too keen on checking this show out, but you know what? The first episode did everything Romulus didn't.
Except for the tech.
What do you mean? The tech was great. It really felt like we were watching the 1979 original.
Ha! Sorry, Commander, I meant it as a good thing. It did exactly what Romulus did on that front.
Oh yes, of course. In that respect, nostalgia was used in all the right ways. The computers, the machines, the sounds, it was all spot on. But Earth went so much further by introducing many new elements we hadn't seen before in that universe.
Indeed. First off, we have a cyborg, disturbingly represented by the menacing and emotionless Morrow. Androids have been a staple of the Alien franchise since the start, but this was the first time we had a mechanically enhanced human.
Add to that a spaceship with facehuggers.
Well, that's nothing new.
No, but we can't have an Alien story without them.
Granted.
But what I loved was the addition to them. We get a whole menagerie of alien creatures.
So, it's not just humans versus xenomorphs anymore.
Exactly. All of a sudden, it expands the world with a plethora of new alien life, although the first episode merely hinted at them. Instead, we explored another brand new facet for the franchise, the transferring of a person's consciousness from their body into a mechanical one.
So, an android.
Not the same. These artificial bodies seem to be stronger, faster, and way more advanced, whereas the androids we've seen up to now mostly had very similar human abilities. But on top of that, there are hints that we're going to be exploring what it means to be human, and also hoping that there's going to be time to focus on the notion of consciousness. Like, was the consciousness of those children who underwent the procedure transferred or merely copied? Did they actually die on the operating table and those machines just think they're human? Or do they truly have, for lack of a better word, their soul?
Pretty much the same concept with Star Trek's Transporter.
It opens the door for a lot of interesting philosophical concepts, which I hope they'll tackle in future episodes.
But does it really matter? If all of your thoughts, feelings, memories, wants and desires are copied, aren't you now you in another place or body?
Come on, McCluck. Deep down inside your being is an element that's uniquely you, a spark of self. Does that spark actually get moved? I really hope they'll find time to explore that.
Well, I personally hope they'll find time to explore that darkness surrounding that experiment. We know these multinationals aren't the good guys, in that universe or ours. There's a darkness surrounding this procedure, highlighted by the fact these children's families were told they died, which brings up questions about whether or not they're still people or merely property.
I'm not sure those who created them know themselves, hence their ambivalence over Wendy, the main character and the first transfer patient, spying on her brother through the city's security cameras. Some aren't into the idea and would like her to stop, while others think it would help her with her connection to her humanity.
That's all pretty cool and all, but then all hell breaks loose when the ship containing all those alien specimens crash lands onto a city, and it's time for some action. Although, it doesn't make that much sense on a couple of fronts. First, I'm amazed a ship crashing from space doesn't obliterate the entire area.
Wouldn't be much of a story if it did.
True, but still. And second, why agree to send children into such a dangerous situation, even if they have these super android bodies?
Well, it does make some sense, McCluck. For one, Wendy's brother was the medic on the scene, and she wants to protect him.
Yeah, but she's only a kid, so her, owners could have just said no.
Well, again, they're ambivalent about it until they get excited at all the valuable data they'll be able to gather about their performance. Plus, they've no idea what dangers actually lurk in that ship.
And this is where Episode 2 starts taking a turn for the worse, the nonsensical, and the downright stupid.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that.
Okay, the first thing that didn't make sense to me is the soldiers going into the rubble, whether it's the crashed ship or the destroyed buildings, are heavily armed. Now, we know as the audience the huge dangers they're going into, but they don't. For them, it's just a search and rescue mission. So why are nearly all of them heavily armed? And we really only see a single medic? The proportions should really be reversed.
On the plus side, the escaped creatures are great in an original and deeply disturbing way.
Oh yeah, that's the best part of the second episode. Really grotesque and terrifying. It's like we've stepped into an H.P. Lovecraft nightmare. But to go back to the ridiculous, let's not forget those super powerful humanoid machines are controlled by children's minds. Why on earth, when their leader, the really cool android Kirsch, discovers all of the dangerous cargo on board, does he not abort the mission, call for heavy reinforcements, and get the kids in his charge away to safety?
So the story could happen?
That's always the stupidest and most disappointing reason ever. They're kids. They won't be able to handle what's to come, and even if they do, they'll be severely traumatized for life. How is that a good thing for anyone? We were told these were super expensive machines, and Prodigy, the company, couldn't really afford to lose even one. But, we're sure to lose a bunch before the story's done.
Yeah, and everything hinted at in the first episode seems to have been forgotten by the second. All those exciting thoughts and concepts seem to have just been a pretext so that we can have powerful machines fighting xenomorphs.
Machines with little personality. Aside from Wendy, do we even have a sense of who those others are?
Good point.
Plus, machines can't get infected by facehuggers, or have their blood sucked by some worm monsters, or be damaged by a super fast octopus eye and whatever else they should be throwing at them. It sort of lowers the stakes because it removes any care we could have. I mean, in Aliens, most of the Marines were twats, but I did care about them and I didn't like it when they made their grisly end. Oh, and speaking of, there's also a really big problem with the xenomorph.
He looks pretty darn good.
Oh, absolutely, but the main essence of the xenomorph is lost here. In the first movie, we never saw the victims. There was never any trace of them. They were removed from the scene. There wasn't even any blood. That's where the true horror lay. What did it do with them? In the sequel, we learned why the xenomorph was gathering up hosts for its eggs. Here, it's just a boring bog-standard, rampaging psychopath monster killing everything in its path. That's not the xenomorph we were expecting, and we're excited for.
Well, I thought you wanted something different.
Of course I do, but not like that. It's like meeting Hannibal Lecter, and he's actually really nice and cooks for you, instead of having you for dinner. It's a subversion of expectation that doesn't work in this case. The temperament is too different.
The xenomorphs did kill people in Aliens.
Only when it was being attacked.
Yeah, you're right. And even in the middle of all the action, one of them took Newt away when it could.
Exactly. Whereas here, although the soldiers were heavily armed, not one of them fired a shot when they had the chance. Well, that's another major disappointment, in fact. So, on the one hand, the xenomorph wasn't threatened but gruesomely killed indiscriminately, even on the ship at the start of the show, and on the other, all those fancy weapons could have stopped it in a heartbeat, but not a single soldier used one. It's like Earth is populated by really stupid soldiers.
And I guess you must have scratched your head as I did when Wendy, having found her brother, asks him to join her rather than sending him to safety.
Absolutely. He somehow survived one xenomorph rampage. He knows what they're capable of, and yet he just follows her like a good little puppy without even expressing any doubt or telling her the horrors he saw. Absurd.
Well, there is a nice moment when he's told who Wendy really is, and after initially dismissing her as nothing but a synthetic machine, understand it's really her inside a new body.
Yeah, that was cute. And when they find the alien eggs, I did recoil when he was casually sticking his head on top of one of them. I mean, he's the only one who can get infected after all. But then suddenly the xenomorph appears because in all the wreckage with likely thousands of people waiting to be rampaged, he decides to follow our protagonists.
Well, obviously.
Exactly. And rather than killing Joe like he's done with absolutely everyone he's encountered up to now, the xenomorph grabs him and they both fall down a chasm. How much do you want to bet that this time the xenomorph will keep him alive?
Yeah, that's highly likely, just to shake things up a little.
And lastly, I had to look it up as I was curious to know where in the timeline this show was taking place. And it turns out it's 2 years before the first movie. And I don't know, but that doesn't make consistent sense to me. Okay, Ash from the first movie knew to look out for the xenomorphs, But those creatures were completely new to the crew, and later in the sequel, which takes place 57 years later, no one has heard of a xenomorph either. You think if those monsters were loose on Earth before any of those events took place, news about them would have had to have gotten out.
It is a concern, I agree, but this is but the start of the show. I'm hoping there will be a satisfying answer to that, along with all the other issues we've raised.
My concern is, will this show return to the tantalizing premise it brought us in the first episode, or will it just descend into predictable gore horror, which, when you think about it, isn't actually what the Alien franchise should be about?
Guess we'll just need to check out the third episode when it comes out.
Yes, we will. Until then, if you like what we do,
And how we do it,
and you feel you'd like to help us out,
please consider joining our Patreon.
as long as you can afford it, of course.
We'll leave a link to it in the description and pinned comment.
Thanks for watching. Do let us know what you think in the comments, and I'll give you the response you deserve. So it's not just humans versus xenomorphs anymore.